What if I told you that some of the most successful entrepreneurs don't have MBA degrees, don't live in Silicon Valley, and have never stepped foot in a boardroom? And what if I told you they are sitting under mango trees in rural Ghana, stirring pots of liquid gold that have just become a $4.9 billion industry? Meet Shea butter billionaires. They are not who you think they are. Here's something that will blow your mind. Those expensive moisturizers you see at Sephora, the ones that cost $50 for a tiny jar, they are made from a single nut that grow on trees scattered across West Africa. Trees that women like Samantha Bakatu in Ghana have been working with for generations. But here's the twist nobody is talking about. These women aren't just suppliers anymore. They are now becoming the CEOs of their own billion-dollar revolution. Now let me paint you a picture that will make you change how you see African business forever. The global shea butter market, it's exploding. We are talking about a market that's grown from $2.4 billion in 2024 to a projected $4.9 billion by 2034. That's just not growth. That's actually an economic earthquake. Now, what you don't know is that about 16 million African women work in this industry. 16 million. That's more than the entire population of Zimbabwe. And mark you, they aren't just picking nuts. They are running the show. Now, before we proceed, just tell me, when was the last time you heard about an African industry where women controlled the entire value chain? Where they weren't just the laborers, but the leaders. Now here's the part that's going to surprise you. This isn't some new tech startup story. This is actually ancient wisdom meeting modern demand. For centuries, these women have been calling shea butter women's gold. Not because it's shiny, but because it's literally transformed their lives. Just listen to Habiba's story from Niger.
Project has really helped me to get income to support myself and my family.
Something incredible happened in the last 2 decades. While the world was focused on tech billionaires and crypto, these women were actually building something more sustainable. They formed cooperatives, secured international partnerships, and cracked the code of global markets. There's this American lady that I saw who had Ghanaian roots and who was making a documentary how she actually came back to Ghana to start producing shea butter. That is, she partnered with the locals to produce shea butter for her, and she actually came up with her brand, a beautiful brand for nappy hair, that is afro hair, right? And she makes a lot of money from it, selling her products back in the US and in other European countries. Now, the shea butter is actually a big deal. Do you know that companies like L'Occitane now pay 20% to 30% for shea butter from the cooperatives than they would for Western processed alternatives? That's over $1.2 million annually going directly to 15,000 women in Burkina Faso alone. Now, let me play devil's advocate for a moment. Some critics argue that this is just another form of resource extraction. The Western companies are still the ones making the real money, while African women do the hard work. And they have a point. A jar of shea butter costs $2 to produce in Africa, but sells for $50 in New York, for instance. That's a 2,400% markup. Doesn't sound fair, does it? But here's what the critics are missing. These women aren't just suppliers anymore. They are becoming the brand. Just check out this woman from Ghana, a first-generation Ghanaian who started shea butter brand, or Kosi from South Africa who started her own brand by just working directly with Ghanaian cooperatives. These could just look basic to you, but they are actually revolutions. It might interest you to know that the Global Shea Alliance now connects over 500 members across 35 countries. In the last 20 years, they've driven over 600% in shea exports from West Africa. 600%. Now, a US-8 study found out that for every $1,000 of shea nuts sold, an additional $1,850 in economic activity was generated in the village. That's not just business, that's community transformation. In a minute, I will show you why this changes everything for the future of African entrepreneurship. So here's what's really happening. Across 21 African countries, from Senegal to Sudan, a quiet revolution is taking place. Women are taking control over their economic destiny, one shea nut at a time. The Tongue-Teya Shea Butter Association in Ghana, for instance, now has about 500 members. They are not just processing shea butter, they are reforesting degraded land, running healthcare programs, and sending their children to university thanks to shea butter. But I want to draw your attention to something that nobody is talking about or even noticing. The real reason behind this revolution is something that has been hiding in plain sight. You see, shea butter isn't just a beauty product. It is a food ingredient, a pharmaceutical component, and a chocolate industry essential. According to the US Trade Commission, 90% of shea demand comes from chocolate and confectionery products. That literally means that every time you eat chocolate, use moisturizer, or even take certain medications, you are actually part of their success story. Companies like Bunge and Cargill are now building processing facilities in Ghana. And L'Oreal, for instance, has made shea butter one of their top 10 most used raw materials. The world's biggest brands are literally dependent on these women. There's this African proverb that says, however far a stream flows, it never forgets its sources. These women understand this deeply. They are not forgetting their traditions. They are globalizing it. They are simply taking ancient knowledge and turning it into modern wealth. The same hands their grandmothers used to process shea butter for their families are now feeding global supply chains worth billions of dollars. Let me quickly give you some numbers that will blow your mind. Nigeria alone produces 348.9 million kilograms of shea nuts annually. For you to have an idea, that's enough to fill 7,000 shipping containers. Mali produces 215.7 million kilograms, while Burkina Faso is at 105.7 million kilograms. Now, 250 to 300,000 tons of shea products are exported annually, making Africa the world's largest supplier of this liquid gold. But here's what makes this different from other African success stories. Now, this isn't about foreign investment or aid. This is about African women taking control of their own resources and building sustainable businesses. The Middle East and Africa shea butter market alone is expected to grow at 6.7% annually through 2030. But the real growth is happening at the grassroots level. Remember Ramatu from Niger, right? She said that she used to cut down trees and sell as firewood. Backbreaking work that barely fed her 6 children. Now she's earning more money from shea butter processing than she ever did from firewood, and all her kids are in school. Now look at how entire communities are being transformed. Schools are being built, health centers are opening, and women are gaining decision-making powers in their communities, which was something unheard of before in African communities. Walk into any Whole Foods, Target or Sephora, and you will definitely find shea butter products. The Body Shop, L'Occitane, Dr. Organic, they all depend on these African women's expertise. So if you just look at the fact that these women are actually creating finished products, building brands, and accessing global markets directly, you will notice that there is a complete economic transformation taking place. I want you to understand, goal getters, that the real revolution isn't just in the products, but it's in who controls the narrative. Now, let's be real about this. It hasn't been easy. These women face challenges that will break most entrepreneurs. Limited access to capital, poor infrastructure, climate change affecting harvest seasons, and many more. But here's what's incredible. They are solving these problems through collaboration, forming cooperatives to increase bargaining power, for instance. They also endeavor to share resources and knowledge, and they have gone as far as building storage facilities to avoid distressed sales. And now they are even adopting new technologies. Things like mobile apps for tracking production, digital payment systems, and online marketing platforms. They are actually leapfrogging traditional business models. And here's what even gets me more excited about the future. Young African women are looking at their grandmothers and mothers and seeing CEOs, not just farmers. They are seeing possibilities and not just tradition. The Global Shea Alliance, for instance, is now connecting cosmetic brands in Japan, South Korea, and China with African cooperatives. If you don't know, Asians are now one of the top producers of cosmetics worldwide, alright? So when it comes to beauty, especially feminine beauty, they don't joke with it. The Asian market alone is expected to grow at 8.7% annually through 2030. But the real vision, African women controlling the entire value chain. That is, from tree to shelf, from harvest to brand, and from local to global. Do you even know, goal getters, that by 2035, the shea butter market could be worth $5.58 billion? Imagine if the majority of that wealth stayed in African hands. Imagine if these women became the L'Oreals and Unilevers of tomorrow. So here's my challenge to you. Next time you're shopping for beauty products, look for shea butter. But don't just buy shea butter. Look for products that directly support African women cooperatives in one way or another. You can do that by looking for fair trade certifications. You can also look for brands that transparently show their supply chains. You can also look for companies that pay premiums directly to women producers. If you are part of the African diaspora, consider partnering with these women. Consider bringing your skills, your networks, and your capital back to support this revolution. I want you to know that this isn't just about shea butter. This is about changing the narrative of African businesses. This is about showing the world that African women are not just recipients of aid. They are architects of their own success. Next time someone asks you about African entrepreneurship, don't talk about silicon copycats or foreign investments. Talk about shea butter billionaires. Talk about women who turns ancient wisdom into modern wealth. Talk about 16 million women who are quietly building one of the world's most sustainable industries. And remember, however far a stream goes, it never forgets its sources. These women are the sources, and they are flowing all the way to global success. So if you want to support this revolution, remember, every purchase is a vote for the kind of world you want to see. That said, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you on my next one.